Okay, we're good.
Okay, good evening. Thanks everybody for getting here a little bit early today. Today is May 5th, and I'm calling this meeting to order. I make a motion that we move into executive session for the purposes of discussing a grievance.
I'll second.
One of those things.
I'll second that.
All right. Okay, we'll move into executive session. Okay, we've come out of executive session and the board has denied a grievance filed by an employee. As outlined by a resolution that was approved in executive session. We're now going to move on to other resolutions. The first one is resolution modifying the officer start dates. Whereas the town board appointed Officer Di Stefano as a full-time permanent officer effective December 1st, 2025, and whereas the town board desires to amend the effective date of said appointment, now therefore be it resolved that the effective date of the appointment of Officer Di Stefano as a full-time permanent officer is hereby changed to April 21st, 2026.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution approving an agreement for the expenditure of highway monies pursuant to section 284 of the highway law. So that folks know, this is something that is part of New York state law for highway departments, where every year they come to the town board and they let us know how they want to spend certain expenditures. And they go around and they pick roads that need to be maintained and they use their best judgment to assess which roads are gonna get fixed and how much it's gonna cost them to fix. And so the board was provided with this plan from the highway department, so now we're going to vote on that. Whereas section 284 of the highway law of the state of New York authorizes the town board to enter into agreements with the superintendent of highways for the expenditure of highway monies for maintaining and improving town highways. And whereas the town superintendent of highways has submitted to the town board an agreement pursuant to section 284 of the highway law covering the expenditure of highway monies during the period from January 1st, 2026 through December 31st, 2026. And whereas the town board has reviewed said agreement and finds it to be in the best interest of the town, now therefore be it resolved that the town board hereby approves the agreement for the expenditure of highway monies pursuant to section 284 of the highway law, and be it further resolved that the town supervisor of the town is hereby authorized and directed to execute said agreement on behalf of the town.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution accepting resignation of housing committee member. Be it resolved that the resignation of Gregory Stanford as a member of the housing committee is hereby accepted, effective April 29th, 2026. And be it further resolved that the town of Woodstock, New York extends its sincere thanks to Gregory for his dedication, time, and service to the community. Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Resolution accepting resignation of police dispatcher. Be it resolved that the resignation of Leanne Ushinger as a member of police dispatch is hereby accepted, effective April 20th, 2026. And be it further resolved that the town of Woodstock, New York extends its sincere thanks to Leanne for her dedication, time, and service to the community.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay. And before we go to the final resolution, we have folks from the climate smart team here to present, so that the board has a chance and the public has a chance to hear from you, and as well the board can ask any questions before we vote on this. So come on up. And just introduce yourselves and
Sure.
Can
you stand on the other side,
Sorry,
please,
sorry.
if you want?
Camera.
Thank you.
Hi there, I'm Chloe Leader and I'm part of the Climate Smart Community Task Force alum.
I'm Linda Suchel, I'm the Climate Smart Communities Task Force Coordinator.
and you're here to talk to us about this climate action plan.
Yeah,
So I think that it was emailed to all of you, and this is the second go around, and so just to kind of rewind where we have come from. We are looking to recertify Stock's bronze status as a climate smart community. And that's gonna be submitted in May. As part of that, we're looking to include the community action plan. And so we started with the community action plan that had originally been submitted. But there was a lot of feedback that it was originally submitted before our time.
Yeah.
So we used that and it had a lot of feedback that it wasn't going to be okay to submit as part of the bronze status. So we used that as a baseline, we augmented it, we sent it to you guys for initial review, we sent it to the Woodstock Environmental Commission. We also held a community feedback session. We incorporated all those items, then we went back to the WEC. That sent a letter of support, and now we're there with you guys as the final check before submitting it. The major headline is that we're looking to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 30% by 2035. And a big driver of that will be how we reduce emissions within the transportation and residential sectors. And I'll let Linda give a little more detail on some of those things.
Yeah, so there are, in Woodstock, we primarily have residential greenhouse gas emissions or community greenhouse gas emissions. We don't have a ton of industry here. And so this community climate action plan is really the main driver for reducing greenhouse gas emissions in our community. So as Chloe mentioned, transportation is the major sector. Part of the reason transportation is such a big sector in Woodstock is that we do get the New York Thruway emissions do get counted in our overall emissions. And so in one of the items in the transportation sector is how do we increase public transit options from New York City into the region? And so that's one area that we're looking at in addition to several others. The second, one of the contexts that we're facing in this town of Woodstock is that the majority of residents here, or maybe all of them, get their power from Central Hudson. Central Hudson has been doing rate increases continuously, like over and over. The state is giving them permission for that. And so the ability for residents to transition to greener solutions is a hindrance because of those high electricity rates. And so we included a section in here for the green energy transition objective, which is to really find ways for residents in Woodstock to who have the appropriate amount of sunlight to get solar panels at an affordable rate. And so there's a couple of different objectives in there. The first one is around streamlining the building permit process. Another objective is around either trying to do bulk buy of solar or community solar projects. And then another component in that objective, and something that we found as we did research, is the greenhouse gas emissions of propane generators. And so we calculated that each person in Woodstock generates about 9 metric tons of CO2 per year, and 0.08 metric tons is about what comes out of a generator on average annually. So I just estimated based on how often my power goes out annually, which is roughly 36 hours over the course of a year. But that these are incredibly polluting devices, and so working with trying to find ways to subsidize either backup battery storage, or really explore new ways of thinking about backup power, potentially microgrids. These have been used in other places. The next biggest sector is residential heating oil. So about 87% of a lot of our residents still have heating oil as their main source of heat. And so one of the things we want to look at is how do we get them to transition over to mini splits. One of the things we discovered with that is that the replacement for like propane or oil heat, if you have to replace your furnace, is, you know, roughly gonna be anywhere between 9 and 12 grand to put in mini splits and put in all the wiring, possibly other stuff, and rip out the old fossil fuel furnaces. Is gonna start you at $19,000. And so working to figure out what are the ways that we can either streamline that cost, reduce that cost, or on the back ends, when you're using the mini splits, at least not having really high central Hudson rates potentially because there's solar available or something like that. The other area, the one last area that I'll talk a little bit more about is solid waste greenhouse gas reduction. So one of the things that's coming out in the climate space that hasn't really been addressed as well as it should be is the reduction of methane emissions. In Woodstock, we don't have a ton of animal husbandry, but our throwing food waste or yard waste into plastic bags that go into a landfill is really bad. So we're looking at offering residents a variety of ways to compost their organic waste. For industrial greenhouse or commercial greenhouse gas reductions and agricultural, we have a lot of work to kind of understand what's available in the community, and so we'll be looking to survey businesses and other entities as we move forward.
And one thing to note is this is the community action plan. There will be a government action plan that we're gonna work on in the future, and that will be specifically around some of the assets the government.
So we're happy to answer any questions.
So board questions, we'll start with Reggie.
Thank you.
Well, I don't have a
First,
question.
make sure you second first.
So I don't have a question, but as a peer member of the Climate Smart Communities Task Force, I just want to say how impressed I've been with what Linda and Chloe have done with this community's action plan. The two of them have taken the lead on the community action plan and have been so thorough. I mean, they've sent it to us, they've sent it to the WEC, they visited the WEC. We had a very effective public meeting with public input. So I just want to thank both of you for as thorough as you've been and a very together plan. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you for everything, all the work that you've done. Couple of things. There, I don't know if they're questions per se, but I guess one would be, have you had conversations with any representatives from Central Hudson about just the issues that people are having with them?
So we did get data from Central Hudson to understand how many solar photovoltaic installations there are and battery backup installations that they have on file. As part of that conversation, I asked them about what programs they have to help people reduce their energy costs. So that is an action item in there, is to educate residents on those availabilities. One of them is, it's called direct response, but basically if you have a smart thermostat, you can sign up for a program and save $25 to $50 a month. So those their rates are set by the Public Service Board, and for those of you who don't understand how you or want to know more about how utilities work, the basic way a utility makes money is by building or adding to infrastructure, and then they are allowed to charge increased rates to make back the cost plus profit on those infrastructure upgrades. So part of the reason that Woodstock has seen increased rates and the whole Central Hudson region has seen increased rates is because they have been upgrading the big giant transmission lines that run just outside of town to increase the amount of power, specifically like green power that they can get down to New York City. So we are paying for the cost of greening New York City. So it is like essentially.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like, you know, as far as generators go, I live in Western Woodstock where you have to have generator because today my power went out for 4 hours. It's always the same 179 houses in Willow, the Woodstock part of Mount Trevor, and I've gone and talked to the crews, and I'm like, why is it always 179 houses? And they pointed out, there's about a quarter-mile stretch where the power line goes through the woods and not along 212. And they've talked about moving it, they haven't done it. So every time the wind blows, the power goes out, and when the power goes out, the internet goes out, and there's no cell service there. And so it's this kind of mess. The other thing I was gonna ask is if, one, or just comment, is that we should all be, I think, advocating that the state, allow for balcony solar. I know Utah has done that, Germany uses it a lot, it's basically solar panels that you hang on your balcony or wherever, plug into a socket.
Yep.
And most of the time, your utility has to agree to it, and I think Kathy Hochul was talking about it, I read something about that.
Yeah, we talk about it in the plan, this bill, the Senate has unanimously passed it.
Yes.
In the House right now, so yes, 100%,
Right.
right up under Carl Esty, get him to like pass it.
Yeah.
And then we can have it, yeah, that's another great option for residents to lower some of their utility bills, because those panels are anywhere from like $400 to $800. And you just plug them into your socket and like your refrigerator runs on it.
Right. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, so any other questions? And Lily's not on the call. Okay.
Lily's on the Zoom.
Oh,
she's on Zoom.
I wanna say thank you also, when I first saw this plan, I said to Linda, oh my gosh, don't you think that's a little overly ambitious? And those of you who know me, I'm pretty ambitious, but she was very confident, and so thanks to the two of you and to the whole task force. Just hold that question, is the board ready to vote on this, or do we not wanna vote on this? Yeah, alright, so cause we can table it, although that's gonna put you both in a crunch, we've got just a few days, I think is it May 22nd, where?
Everything is due on June 22nd. Our goal is to roughly turn everything in by the 15th or so,
Okay.
just to like.
Yeah, well, and the other thing too is by us approving it now, Megan will get the minutes
Yeah.
together and we'll have the minutes in
Yeah.
time. Because if we wait till the last minute, we might not have the minutes, and we kind of approve the minutes before May 22nd. So if we approve it tonight, we'll have the minutes, we can approve the minutes before May 22nd.
So every council person is ready.
Yeah.
Yeah. Is your question, can you hold your question till after the meeting, or be done very shortly? So the board can vote on this last one?
Sure, but definitely wanna talk to them about.
You're not leaving, I guess.
We're
Alright, so the board's gonna vote, I'm gonna read the resolution. Whereas the town of Woodstock has developed the Woodstock Community Climate Action Plan, and whereas said plan outlines strategies and actions to address climate change and promote sustainability within the town. And whereas the town board has reviewed the Woodstock Community Climate Action Plan attached here to as attachment A. Now therefore be it resolved that the Woodstock Community Climate Action Plan attached here to as attachment A is hereby approved and adopted by the town board of the town of Woodstock.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much.
I do have a question, so I do have a question, so I'm thinking about, and this sounds really amazing, and you know, I hope we can all do this across the nation, the world, whatever. So, but my question is, in reality, is that people are living in affordable housing and their landlords, if they have to pay to do something like that, like. A 50-year-old house that's, or 50-year-old apartment building with 9 units, that's a unicorn apartment like building. And they all have old baseboards with a boiler and a coil, the whole thing, like I think that's great, let's replace it. However, a lot of times affordable, like landlords, they're trying to keep the rent down. Aren't able, like, are you guys gonna help to really help those landlords? Because if it becomes a government law thing too. Now they're stuck, and I feel like it's gonna turn into a town of like, only the rich people that can do these things can live here as opposed to a diverse economic community.
So we have 3 different investigations in the plan. These are not things we are committed to, these are just things that we're exploring. And part of the reason we're exploring them is because with the loss of federal subsidies, we need ways to pay for some of this. So one that speaks directly to this is setting up I wouldn't necessarily say that Woodstock would do this alone, but possibly in partnerships with neighboring towns or even Ulster County. But setting up something called a sustainable energy utility. Ann Arbor, Michigan has done this, you can look it up, but basically what they are doing is they're going directly to affordable housing communities. And they are paying to install the solar panels and the battery backup systems on those buildings. And then the residents pay the sustainable energy utility for the power they use off of those systems. But they still pay the regular utility when there's no solar or whatever, so the regular utility is fine with that, so gets back to your question. These are conversations we wanna start having with Central Hudson, like, can we put additional stuff on the grid? There are some limitations in Woodstock, although I'm starting to have conversations, we might be able to get around some of them, but yeah, that's one idea. We have some other ideas for like, let's just get some money in here, like make some money off those transmission lines right now. And the other towns surrounding here, Saugerties, Hurley, the town of Ulster, I think Hurley has put a stop to everything, but those towns are considering large scale battery storage. These are companies coming in from California and they're gonna store power that's either being generated locally from solar or pick it up that's coming down from the nuke plant in Rochester. And they're gonna buy low and sell high. They basically practice arbitrage and they make a bunch of money off of it. Why are they making that money and not us? Like, again, this is not a Woodstock thing, but this could be an Ulster County thing. And then all of that money would go towards the green energy transition and providing subsidies for communities that need that transition, because you're exactly right, like it's gonna be an unequal transition, and so we wanna make sure that that's part of the reason we included those investigations.
And I think the big thing too is that by securing bronze and hopefully moving to silver in the future, it puts us at the top of the list for grants. So the goal is to get grants so that we can also fund some of those transitions. And there are organizations like, it's called the Mid Hudson Valley Energy Transition, that is focused on working with low income communities to transition them to more greenhouse, lower the greenhouse gas emissions. So there are organizations out there that we partner with, and we will also get money to help do something.
Thank you, I just want you to keep your mind in there.
Yeah, no, it's
Like, yeah.
it's a great like piece of feedback, and definitely.
Alright, thank you very much. Before we move into public be heard, I'm going to embarrass Yvonne. Happy birthday to Yvonne. So, all right, we are moving into public be heard. As a reminder, the board will not be speaking with folks. This is our chance to sit here and listen, and each speaker has up to 3 minutes.
Alan?
I'm not up here representing Woodstockers United for Change. I'm not speaking for any clique, candidate, or political ideology. What's past is in the past. The blame, the conflict, and I'm not here to revisit it. I'm raising my voice as a citizen of Woodstock, speaking to other citizens of Woodstock whose voice hold much more power than mine. We have an emergency, much more so than bike paths or music decibels. We have contaminated, carcinogenic water that we, the citizens of Woodstock, are ingesting, if not absorbing, daily. That includes pregnant women, children, and those particularly medically vulnerable. Restaurants are serving it. The latest water test has revealed the first time appearance of a third forever chemical, PFBA, which, when added to the already known PFOS and PFOA, raises the combined level of PFAS toxicity to the highest level yet. Allow me to remind you that the two substances that we've known about for some time, are so uniquely dangerous that they are the only chemicals for which the US Environmental Protection Agency has designated 0 as the potentially safe amount. For 8 years, the contaminated waste materials at 10 Church Road have been allowed to remain despite the clear violation of town law. 5 separate hydrologists have told us years ago that it wasn't a matter of if the contaminated particulates would leach into the aquifer and our drinking water, but when. There has still been no source tracing to definitively identify the shady dump as a major source of our water contamination, but the timeline and logic tell us that it would be naive to assume otherwise, given the documented presence of the same hazardous substances at Shady. While members of the board have spoken about these urgencies, we don't know what steps have been taken toward protecting the health and safety of your constituents, your highest obligation. I like to think that there has been significant progress behind the scenes, but therein lies the problem. Transparency was the key word of the last election. Every candidate promised it. We were told that some breakthrough regarding Shady could be announced this past February. We've heard references to PFAS filtration, but the dangers to the citizens of Woodstock remain without word. There is a prescribed way to end the Shady dump nightmare. Simply directing the code enforcement officer to reissue a notice of violation to the property owner. Whatever legal action might be in the process of consideration is contingent on that step. So I ask you once again to take it and to tell us on the heels of Earth Week what the plan is for addressing the greatest of our environmental crises, our undrinkable water. There are people desperate to help you, among them Vince Mao, Marcel Nagle, Susan Painter, and myself. Please act now.
Thank you, Norman.
Hello, I'm Rebecca Brooks, and this is Fanny Thought. For those of you who may not know, she helps run our Channel 23 public access station. I'm here tonight because Woodstock is about to begin a new contract negotiation with Spectrum, and I want to highlight that this is a unique opportunity to exercise our leverage in this process. Because cable providers operate over public rights of way, they pay franchise fees, and towns can negotiate community benefits in return, including support for public access. And I want to thank the board for the attention you've already given to our public access station, because we know you're listening and that you want to help. So we have other towns to look to for precedent in this process. Recently, New Paltz used their negotiations to secure a full equipment upgrade at no cost to the town. It included an HD conversion and $15,000 in additional donations to local nonprofits. And Shandaken is also just about to renegotiate their contract, and they're going to be hosting a public hearing on that soon. So Woodstock currently collects franchise fees in upwards of $100,000, and none of that is currently allocated back to the Woodstock Public Access Station. The station is maintained entirely by volunteers like Fanny and Ellen Powell. Their broadcasts are in analog, they're running on 15-year-old computers and surviving on equipment that is old and failing. We need funding to upgrade the studio. And in order to make the case that the station should get funding, we have to demonstrate that it provides value to the community. But how can we provide value to the community when we lack the technology and resources to produce quality broadcasts? There is a growing group of us that are here in Woodstock that want to revitalize this station as a community resource. We are reaching out to past stakeholders and looking for new volunteers who want to form a committee. There is even some new programming in production, a show being produced by a couple of known local artists and activists. I think this channel could be our C-SPAN, airing town board meetings and other public community meetings, just like we broadcast and aired the March meeting on the state DOT sidewalk and bridge infrastructure project. I think we should have a rotating community bulletin board featuring upcoming events and resources, and maybe we could even provide a training program or internship in tandem with our youth center, which neighbors the station. There's no shortage of creative and educational programming that could be featured. I believe that we should be championing our public access TV in the same way that we champion local radio. These are hyper-local resources for us to use for public education and government purposes.
This is an this is an outlet for us to elevate our history and promote our town's culture, local arts and music. So this negotiation is a rare chance to speak directly with Spectrum and advocate for a station that reflects the quality of what Woodstock has to offer. So we are asking the board to use this leverage to secure funding and digital upgrades necessary to turn our public access station into a true public asset. We are ready to breathe new life into the station, and we want to help in whatever way we can to make this happen.
Thank you very much.
I want to talk about another subject that everybody else has. It's in the list. And
You have, go right ahead, I have plenty of time for you.
no, because the the path at the where the studio is, that side of the wall where the cars go, it's very bad. It has a lot of holes. And if they can fix it, it's like, yeah, I go to the TV studio and my car goes like this all the times. They can put some, sand or, stones, something, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Iris?
Just wanna kind of piggyback on Alan, he said it so eloquently. Town board really owes it to us. To get a status update, maybe at the next meeting, because I don't really know when the last test was. How often should be done. What's been done, who you've been talking to. This has been going on for what? Well over a year that we've had, the problem. And sometimes I think maybe you should just shut off those, wells that are the problem. At the same time, figure out what to do, maybe the source testing, and maybe you're gonna do something in a permanent way. But I don't work at the water department, so I don't know how easy it is to just shut it off, but it just seems like in the meantime, to just shut off those wells, and I'm assuming that there's enough water with the other wells that we can all survive. But we really need you to talk to us.
Thank you, Iris.
You're right. So I'm here today to talk about live music venues. And that we are now headed into the festival or the tourist season. And they, need to know what the current permitting process is. As an example, Bearsville Lizzie Van is, done all this promotional material and spent a lot of money, and there's contracts with musicians and so on and so forth. And that all happens at least 6 months in advance, if you talk to any venue. So like the Bluegrass Festival is supposed to be happening on Memorial Day weekend, which in our town, we know it's like turning the lights on. And all of a sudden everybody comes to town and then let Labor Day turn it off. It's spotty again. But so they have an event, and she was just gonna follow what Bill had told her to do last time in the past. But that's not necessarily what we're doing now, so we need more of a path forward to know exactly what we're doing. I know that I was part of the Keep Music Alive Outside and trying to help move that forward, and then it went to a task force. And I know for a fact that that was one of the things on the list that they were supposed to do, and then give it to the board at the time, was to create an application, because there wasn't one, for music venues to apply for a permit. And to know how many applications and how many you get, each venue gets a year, or how long, or do you have to go to a meeting, what's the cost, what's the fee, where do you find it, what are the steps? And for new venues, if they open up, which I know one has recently, what do they do? So I think this is really important, and like another example, I'm on the steering committee of the Woodstock Community Festival of Awakening, and we've just signed a contract, but we were trying to figure out, like, if we have a permit to even do what we're doing for Saturday and Sunday. And it's mostly daytime music, but just kind of needing that, it's like and, you know, we're not for profit, and so we lose money, that's really horrible. You know? And there is no just go inside, so and some businesses in this town don't have a large inside to just go inside. So if you guys could please like ASAP, kind of, I know we've reached out to so she knows a couple of us, but specifically like. To get that going forward and let us, you know, the whole town know exactly what we're doing and what to do. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other speakers? Okay. Motion to adjourn the meeting, second, is all in favor?
Alright.
Thank you.